Bootlegging is defined as the production and transportation of illegal alcohol. Bootlegging started with Midwestern traders in the 1800s who would conceal liquor in their bootlegs while trading with Native Americans. Bootlegging was notorious during the Prohibition era from 1920 to 1933, where alcohol was outlawed in America. Local police and the new federal agency, called the Bureau of Prohibition, were tasked with upholding the Prohibition Act. It soon became well known that bootleggers needed fast cars and daring drivers to get away from the law. Though the law was removed in 1933, bootlegging still continues today, though on a much smaller scale. Little did bootleggers know that their rebellious actions affected America's car culture for years to come, including paving the way for the muscle car era of the 1960s and 70s, NASCAR itself, the fun and modification of racing automobiles, and many forms of media. Contrary to popular belief, bootleggers were not lacking in intelligence. Most bootleggers had to come up with new ways to maximize profits and evade the law. Now, going about this was easier said than done. They thought outside the box and did every modification themselves. The principle of supplying the engine with more air and the right amount of fuel can first be seen in bootleggers' cars. Upgrades that people did to these engines with no help of big companies is nothing short of amazing. For example, some upgrades include upgrading or adding carburetors and different intake manifolds for higher airflow and more fuel output, tuning these carburetors for the best air-to-fuel ratio, headers or better exhaust manifolds to improve the efficiency of exhaust gases leaving the engine, porting and polishing intake and exhaust ports for more airflow, boring out the engine for higher displacement, shaving the cylinder head for higher compression, which leads to a better efficient burn. They didn't stop there though. They took their engines from fire trucks and ambulances and stuffed them into their lightweight cars for more power and hauling capability. With all this power, bootleggers could haul a lot of liquor. Some daring ones could hold 1,000 pounds worth of alcohol in their car. To compensate for this weight, bootleggers added more leaf springs, higher spring rate coils, air adjustable shocks, and more. And probably the most important factor for bootlegging and racing in general was good traction. Bootleggers also used special switches to kill power to certain parts of the car. This upgrade helped evade the law many times. To illustrate this technique, here is an anecdote about Junior Johnson, who was both a bootlegger and a NASCAR driver. Junior attached a pair of toggle switches just left of the steering column that when flipped cut off the brake lights, or the tail lights, or both. More than one pursuing lawman ended up in a roadside ditch after overdriving a curve. With all these upgrades and stunts being done, many began to race each other just to see who was faster.
That some of the moonshiners got to betting who had the fastest car. And it was a cow pasture, something down in North Carolina. And they got to racing around through this cow pasture, making bets on who had the fastest car. And that's how the racing really got started. They got to drawing crowds of people.
Later in 1947, Bill France Sr., with the background in organizing these races, gathered 35 other organizers like him to form the National Association for Stock Car and Auto Racing. February 15, 1948, NASCAR held their first race at Daytona Beach, Florida. Winning that race was a man named Red Byron, who was formerly a bootlegger. Another name in the NASCAR sphere was Junior Johnson, a household name in NASCAR. He was a professional bootlegger and spent 11 months in prison for moonshine. Junior also stated that the track was not as exciting as it was running from the revenuers. If you got caught, you knew you were going to jail. Some other popular NASCAR bootleggers were Wendell Scott, Curtis Turner, and Tim Flock. American manufacturers started to recognize the growing demand for powerful sedans and coupes, leading them to produce the first muscle car under the name Rocket 88 by Oldsmobile. The engine equipped was an overhead valve V8 135 horsepower engine that could reach 0 to 60 in just 13 seconds, a remarkable feat in 1949. This sparked a newfound interest in powerful muscle cars among Americans, and the market began to flourish over the decades. For example, cars like the Corvette, Camaro, Mustang, Firebird, Rambler, GTO, and many others. Culture began to acknowledge the appeal of auto racing and created various forms of media centered around it, one of which that involves bootlegging is a movie called Smokey and the Bandit, released in 1977, features fast cars and high-speed chases. The film follows the story of two men hired to bootleg Coors beer from Texarkana within a strict deadline of 28 hours, with the accompanying chase car, a 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, to distract the police and a semi to haul the beer. This film's plot is directly linked to bootlegging and its use of fast cars to transport illegal alcohol. Some well-known films also fall into this outlaw racing category, including Dukes of Hazzard, Fast and Furious, Cannonball Run, and numerous others. Bootlegging was more than a quick hustle for many backwoods people back in the day. It was a bold statement, a daring defiance, and a revolt against government rule. And in the process, it left its mark on America's car culture, igniting a passion for high-speed, boastful, and powerful vehicles. Bootleggers not only transported their precious cargo, but also fueled a fire of a nation's love for speed and rebellion. It may have been illegal, but it was undeniably exhilarating, a symbol of the American spirit that refuses to be caged. Though they may have been bootleggers, they were also pioneers, shaping America's car culture into what it is today.
But we're going to make it like it did 100 years ago. Like that, people would pay you $100 a gallon for it. Oh, she's ready to put the cap on. Hell yeah, we don't lose no liquor. As Bubba says, I'm going to make some wiki today.
We ain't ready to cap yet. We got to put
The back ends is the last thing that comes off when you make it on liquor. I didn't spill another damn drop of that. Then you on boil that beer fire and it'll come from over in that cap down here. That's what you call what they make on Cosby. It looks like that buttermilk. This stump post is cut out like that in the bottom. 180 proof. Should have done this and should have done that. Lay in the face to the cap and hand me a little over here and I'll start over here.